Good afternoon, everyone. Today I am sitting with Belinda Wood, who is a divorce coach. And the reason why I wanted to have this conversation today is 21 years ago, I sat on New Year's Eve and I was having a discussion with my husband at the time about how we were going to fix our relationship, where 18 months prior to that, I had discovered that he wasn't having an affair. He had fallen in love with a woman at the office and deeply in love. And it had affected our relationship in that I started to get blamed for everything. Nothing that I did was good enough, etc., etc. And unpacking all of that over time, I slowly discovered what the situation was. So New Year's Eve, I sat around the bonfire with him and had a conversation and asked what was he going to do to help fix the relationship. First thing out of his mouth was he wanted to start a business with this person. I was shattered. So I said to him, that's it. I'm out of here. I'm done with this relationship. And on New Year's Eve, an hour before midnight, I decided I was going to get divorced. So I only wish that I had somebody like Belinda at that time to actually help me, coach me, and guide me through the process. Because going through that emotional trauma and trying to deal with the legalese, I think this is where a divorce coach can really help. So, Belinda, thank you for making the time today, for being my co-host today, and discussing the challenges that particularly I think women face, not knowing all the ins and outs, the financial challenges, etc. So I'd love to open up the floor to you. Please introduce yourself, give us a little bit of background about your life as a divorce coach.
Sure. Thanks, Yolanda. Now, yes, as you've mentioned, I'm a divorce coach. I work with women going through a divorce because it's a very stressful time, and if they're trying to make decisions under duress and under stress, they're not going to make the right decisions for them. And a lot of the time, I find women I just want to get out and move on, put this all behind me, and they're actually leaving a lot on the table. So if you can get yourself to an emotional, a point where you're emotionally stable with your divorce, then you can actually make really good decisions. And it's a lot harder to do than it sounds, because if you're navigating it on your own, firstly, it's the first time you've done it, right? Or at some point in time, you've been through a divorce for the first time if you're going through a divorce, and you've got no experience and you're relying on advice from other people who haven't been in your situation, who don't understand your situation either financially or emotionally or physically or anything like that. So when it comes to working with a divorce coach, we actually help guide you. So guide you through the entire process. And that looks different for everybody. And it's funny that you should mention New Year's Eve, because it's a very common time for women, especially. As a side note, women are actually the instigators of divorce more than men are.
That's an interesting fact.
Very
I did not
interesting.
know that.
I didn't realize that until I got into this business. It's more often than not instigated by the woman, and she's basically had enough. And the reason we do it, we tend to do it around that Christmas New Year period. So January is really well known as divorce month. It's because no matter where you are in the world, you've got that sort of wind down to the end of the year. Things are busy. Things are getting on top of you. There's a bit of stress around Christmas. There's that overload of Christmas, and you're feeling the pressure. Perhaps your partner's not pulling his weight, and you end up at a point where you've had enough. You're like, I'm sick of this. I'm doing everything, and I'm not getting any help. And so that Christmas to New Year period, you're winding down. You've had all that stress, you're winding down. You've actually got time to stop and think about, what do you really want? You might be spending extra time with them. So maybe you both work during the week normally, throughout the year, and then you've got a week off and you're spending a lot of time together and you are mulling over what is really annoying you about your partner, where they're not pulling their weight, those sorts of things. And that's sitting with you. And then you get to New Year's and you realize New Year's resolutions, new year, new me, bang, that's when it happens. And I think it's that first Monday back at work after New Year. And so for this year, I think it was the 6th of January. That first Monday is when the phone call is made to a lawyer, right? I'm thinking about getting divorced. What do I need to do? And so getting back to the divorce coach and their role, a phone call to a lawyer is great if you know the path you're taking and if you've actually been able to strategize with somebody what you want to do. And the mistake that most of us make, myself included, is ringing the lawyer to then think, okay, well, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to strategize with the lawyer because they're in the divorce business. They know all about it. They know what they're doing. What we forget is lawyers focus on the legal side of it. Divorce is not just legal. That's just a small part of it. Divorce, there are emotions involved, there are finances involved, there are assets, there are children involved. There's all sorts of things involved. You might have businesses together. And so to go straight to a lawyer is literally like going straight to a therapist to say, okay, I want to get divorced, what do I do? They're part of the process, but they're not the ones who are going to help you evaluate what do you want out of this, what's important to you. And, I deal with a lot of women who are going through high conflict divorces as well. And so they're very prone to, not trusting what their soon-to-be ex-husband is putting out on the table. So there's a lot of kind of background work that needs to be done in terms of, okay, I need to dig deep and find out what's going on, what my strategy is going to be, who I want to, what I need in the future. And then there's sort of digging, for want of a better word, but there's some digging to be done. There's just gathering all the information. And if you're doing that with a lawyer, you're doing that using legal fees.
Absolutely.
And that is not the best use of your time nor your money.
Yeah.
Because if you can save the big packet of money towards the end of I'll say the end of your divorce, but you don't go straight into it with a lawyer, because that's where you start forking out legal fees, right? And their best work is done well after you've come up with a strategy with a coach. And coaches ask you all sorts of questions, right? Just depending on what you want to get out of this.
I totally agree with you. And I think that had I had a divorce lawyer, a divorce coach at the time, I think there were a couple of things that could have really, really helped me. And I'd like to touch on a few things that you said. I think the first one is having a strategy. We went into it, we're going to be friends after the divorce. We're going to part amicably. So let's go to the same lawyer.
Ah,
Bad move, right?
mm-hmm. Very
And I
bad
think had
news.
I had a divorce coach, she would have advised me, or he would have advised me, this is not the way to go. Have a
Mm-hmm.
separate lawyer. I think the second one is the emotions. You get, whether you're going through that whole grieving cycle, your anger, your denial, etc., all of that, the lawyer's not going to help you and coach you through that. Whereas a divorce coach can sit with you, can calm you down, because you can't see the wood for the trees when you're in this heavily heated
Mm-hmm.
environment, and there's lots of conflict and lots of arguing and tensions are high. The divorce coach can just help put oil on those waters, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and that's especially true when you've got two people, I mean, at some point in time, the relationship has broken down. So there is an issue there, you're not the best of friends. you're divorcing. And so there's all sorts of things. There's grieving for the life that you thought you would have. You know, there's grieving for the person you thought you were, the person you thought you were with. And you know, if in your case, you know, they were cheating on you, there's that grief as well. You know, what have I done? Who have I become? Will I ever find somebody, you know, again? Will I be happy? If you've got children, it will be, you know, like how will my children split their time between? There's all sorts of emotions that you're going through, and yes, you know, lawyers, they're exposed to this every day just by the nature of their work, but they're not the best people to help you get through it. It's like going to an unqualified person and paying top dollar for average advice or, you know, help. Go to the qualified people, and that's what a divorce coach helps you with. The divorce coach actually doesn't sit with you. Well, they'll sit with you in your emotions, but they'll ask the right questions. They'll work out, okay, well, a therapist could help you with this, a lawyer can help you with this, a financial advisor can help you with this. And that's where they're really, really good, because they'll ask you the right questions and get you thinking about things. And I think when women, especially, are emotional, they're thinking that they're getting angry, they're getting upset for the future and those sorts of things, but they can't see the wood for the trees, as you said. And I do get a lot of cases where, you know, this is a classic example where they're going, I have to keep the house. No, I must keep the house, for example. And I'll ask the questions, and it almost always boils down to, well, you know, why do you want to keep the house? Almost always the answer is because I don't want my husband to get it. And so, if, you know, why would you almost shoot yourself in the foot just to get back at somebody instead of removing yourself from that situation and really looking forward to your own future and go, okay, well, what's best for me? And what do I really want? You know?
Yeah. I think that's such an important point that you touch on, because in my particular situation, it got so heated and so bad at the end of the day that I actually said to him, right, this is it. I'm I'm done. I'm tired of arguing. And I lost out financially. We were in a partnership in our house, so I should have gotten 50-50. I probably walked away with a quarter of the value of the house. I should have actually stood my ground and said, this is not on. I should have maybe got my own lawyer at that point.
Yeah,
And I didn't. And I think, once again, had I had a coach by my side walking through this journey with me, that advice could have been given to me. And you know, persevere, stick it out. And also the fact that, you know, why do you want to start your new life with all that history, all that baggage in that house?
absolutely.
Get rid
Mm.
of the house.
Absolutely. And yeah, there are reasons why people want to do this, and they focus on a tiny reason, and then it gets blown out, and that then becomes their driving force. And if you ask them the question, well, actually, why? What have you thought about this, this, and this? And you can kind of diffuse the situation, and then they can think rationally. And that's where I try and get my clients to the point where they're thinking rationally, they can step outside of the turmoil, and we can actually strategize a plan. And it takes a while. It's not as easy as it sounds. It certainly takes a while, but the more time they're spending with me is the less time they're spending with their lawyer, which is therefore the less money they're spending. The money they then spend on their lawyer is really, really effectively and efficiently spent, because we get them to the point where they know exactly what they want. They've got a rough idea of what they should be entitled to. And there are some strategies in place. You know, we go through things like communication and mindset, and you know what they're entitled to financially and things like that. And by the time they get to the lawyer, they've got the plan. They're not planning it out with the lawyer, which is very ineffective. They've got a plan ready to go. And then we're going, okay, well, legally, where do we stand? How do we get through this? And let's go. And you've got all the questions ready for your lawyer because you've worked with your coach for, I do 3-month programs, and we just work, get to the point where we've kind of wrapped everything up. Now we need the legals, let's get the lawyer, rather than stuffing around with the lawyer to start with and, dribbling out all your money. And then you've got not much left to actually work on the serious legal side of it at the pointy end.
Absolutely. I'd like to touch on the money conversation as well, because I think for a lot of women, they feel trapped in their marriage because they feel they can't survive financially without their husbands.
Absolutely.
And I think the fact that you are a businesswoman, you are a divorce coach, but you're also a coach from a financial perspective as well. You've done um, wealth management planning and looking at how a woman can be financially free at the end of the day.
Yes.
I think expand a little bit into that because that is such a big challenge for most women and very often the thing that's keeping them from getting divorced.
100%. You've hit the nail on the head, Yolanda. Most women are very scared to take that step because they are worried about how they're going to survive financially. So I tend to, with my own clients, I tend to attract women who own their own businesses. Whether it's a small business or whether it's making her a decent income is pretty irrelevant because at the end of the day, if she's got that that finesse, that background, that sort of mindset, we can take that business and help her grow it to a point where it is making her a decent income so she doesn't have to worry so much about losing the financial support. Well, losing the financial support. I mean, in the legal process, she should be able to get, maintenance and child support and things like that. Um, but I focus on what she's already got. What are the tools we can work with? And the other thing is I've had clients who think, well, I don't deserve anything because I haven't worked for the last 10, 15 years. He's been earning good money. So, how can I take his money from him? It's not actually a matter of taking his money from him. You've put your career on hold or your business on hold or something. You've taken a step back to raise children or look after the home or both, and you're a partnership in the marriage, right? So it should be equally split in the eyes of the law. Um, and I think once women can get their head around, well, I actually do deserve a portion of that, and it's also the funds you need to go forward. And I think the more realistic you can be about the sort of life you want to live and deserve to have, then the more realistic you are about where your settlement should be taking you, and also what can you do about it. That one of the things that really upsets me is when people um, don't want to earn extra money because they're worried it's going to affect their child support payments, for example. Or with a man, he's like, well, I'm not going to earn any more money, or I'm going to, if I've got my own business as a man, and I'm going to make it look like I'm hardly earning anything so I don't have to pay it out. Effectively, money is an infinite object, right? If you've got the right mindset, you can actually create more wealth than you realize. And it might sound like pie in the sky stuff, but it's just the next step, because I think if you're thinking, oh, well, I can't earn over a certain amount because otherwise my payments will be cut, and then how will I possibly survive? You're putting a ceiling up against yourself. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And what better way to actually be self-sufficient at the end of the day and not to have to rely on somebody to pay the bills, right? To know
absolutely.
that you're able to and maybe even far exceed what you're getting at the moment with that right mindset. That is so important.
100%. Yeah, that's imagine being in a position where you're thinking to yourself, you're pegging yourself here, and then all of a sudden you realize you can earn more because you have this business or this side hustle or whatever you're doing. Imagine the uplifting emotions you'll have in that, and then that empowers you as well. That helps you go, okay, well, I really need to knock this divorce on the head so that I can move forward with what I'm drawn to be doing. And who knows where that will take me. That's the exciting part of it.
Excellent. Belinda, I've had a great discussion with you. I think I'd like to just highlight a couple of key points out of the discussion today, how you can help, particularly women. I'm not saying that you only help women. I'm sure that there are men who would want to reach out to you as well, but I think your niche is women.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so from an emotional perspective, helping and guiding, helping them with a strategy and a plan before they go and spend a lot of money on a lawyer. let let's have a roadmap of where this is going to, what you need, what is the outcome that you're looking for at the end of the day. Helping them emotionally to just keep a focus on what they need to do, dim down some of those emotions when they do get high, and help and guide them if you're unable to help them through certain aspects, to advise to go and see a therapist, or advise to go and see somebody who can help them on whatever it is that they require deeper dives into.
Yeah,
And then on the financial side of them, of things, helping and coaching them to have a look at their mindset around money, and that they can achieve this, that they can do things on their own, and putting things in place to actually get them to a point of financial freedom.
absolutely.
So
Mm.
I think, you're not just that divorce coach, you also help financially, with mindset and putting steps in place for financial freedom. So I'd like to, if there's anything else that you'd like to add to that, um, please feel free to do so.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. The biggest thing we work on is the emotions, because when they come to me, it's an emotional time. And so if we can diffuse that stress and then they can start thinking strategically, the sky is literally the limit for them. We do exactly that. We do the roadmap, we take that to the relevant professionals, the financial, the legal, even the therapists, and they get everything at the time when it is the most effective. So we work up until that point, and they know exactly what they want. And so they ask the right questions of the right professionals, and it's a very, very successful situation for most of them.
Excellent. Belinda, thank you so much for your time today. If you're interested in getting in touch with Belinda, look at the comments below. You'll find all her contact details there. And having worked with Belinda in the past, she is a phenomenal person. She will connect with you in the most amazing way, and you'll feel more like you're talking to a friend than somebody in business. So please feel free to reach out to her and make it work for you at the end of the day. This is your new journey. This is your new future. You've got to put the things in place. Belinda will be right there by your side, helping and coaching you through every step. Thank you, Belinda.
Thank you, Yolanda. This has been great. Thank you.